you have a bachelor? They said, you need a degree for the job. So they pulled them and said, you have a degree. I said, well, guess what? I got a degree.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't disagree with them.
I did not.
Yeah.
So that they hired me, and I became the emergency service director. So I worked there, and then they brought me to Lafayette and brought me to the Acadiana chapter in Scott. And Mr. Tony Crazer was the CEO. And he asked me, I worked on a contract, and he asked me, will I be willing to stay? He said, to tell me what it's going to take to keep you. People see things in you.
Yeah.
See, when people see something in you that you are valuable to the company, they're willing to go the extra mile to help you.
Yeah.
Well, God wanted to move you in a place, and he knew the place that he wanted to move you in.
Sure.
And I tell that to everybody, that God is real.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Yes. And so that I know God had an assignment for me.
That's right.
But God placed me here to show other brothers they are God.
That's right.
Yeah.
There
There's
is.
favor. And so that Mr. Tony Crater asked me, he said, will you be willing to stay? I stayed. I became the emergency service director for the whole of Acadiana. That was my second chance right there.
Yeah.
He gave me that chance to come back in to get into the work field. I never been into the corporate life, and I had to learn the corporate life, and then I began to see my life. I use my life as a footstool.
Pattern.
As a pattern, right. And so that I want to show young men and women that it can happen if you want it.
But you got to believe, though.
That's right. Yeah, you have to believe.
All things are possible if you believe.
Not to cut you off, but there's a lot of people that I talk to, because I get calls all the time. Still, as retired, I still get phone calls saying, anybody that's hiring, this and some of these people I know personally, and I tell them, I can point you in direction. There's certain things about you need to change, right? You need to get off of social media, get all those videos off where you're doing all this foolishness, and people look at that.
That's negative.
People look at your social media. They want to know what you're doing when you're not working for them, right? And I try to tell them, clean this stuff up.
Sure.
Not hide it, but you need to clean this stuff up. Because if you want this job, if you want to move forward, then you're going to have to do what it takes to keep that job moving forward.
That is correct. And they don't understand is that people go and look at social media before they hire you.
They do.
That's negative.
That's right. What are you part of? Who you connected to? Things like that. And so that I stress that, that social media can follow you the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
It can make you or break you.
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah.
And they want to. And I see all of them putting on. They fighting. They put guns on here. They got drugs on here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so
Flashing
much.
money.
Yeah. Their bodies all out. But who you expect to hire you at a company to represent their company?
Thank you.
If you want a second chance, you got to change up your style.
Yeah.
And here's another thing, huh?
But we got a lot of young men and women that just don't want to change.
But I agree. But here's the thing. A lot of these young men coming in don't have father figures.
They don't know how to.
And I understand that they don't have father figure, but what really hurts me is when I go to talk to them and try to give them words of encouragement and even talk to them about God, and they look at me like if I'm the enemy.
Or they might even pull a gun on
Yeah, they look at me like I'm the enemy. That makes sense.
It's like the pastor says, they don't have anything positive. They don't have any positive mentors
No.
in their life, right? They want what other people have,
Sure.
but they don't know how to work for what it's quick, fast. Like you said, you know about dope.
Yeah.
They know how to sell dope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They know how to do this.
Sure.
But it's crazy, man, that when I was an officer, I would talk to these every weekend. You were seeing the same people hanging out with the styrofoam cups in their hand, they sagging, whatever, got the brand new shoes on.
Oh, yeah.
They
White
all
t-shirt.
start down, But then during the week you see them, it's like, you going to work?
What's that?
No, I say, well, I get a check. Okay, I get a check, and I'm like, okay, but that check is not going to be there forever.
No.
At some point, you have to do better to be better.
Right.
And next, they're locked up, and now you're looking at them at the jail at the courthouse in the orange. They all shackled together, and then you see them. It's like, what's up, man? Oh man, I just they didn't like me, so they put a charge on it.
Yeah.
No.
And that's what we get. So, and I'm glad that Pastor, that you were here. You telling your story, telling people where you came from, how you changed, and now what you're doing.
Sure.
I like that, so people can understand. You don't have to stay where you were. You can move forward and move up,
Yeah.
and make things better for yourself.
And you know, and that being said, I knew that it was a calling on my life. I used to play preacher when I came up in school. I always wanted to be the preacher.
Preacher.
And I came up in church, but I ran a long time. But I tell anybody, I didn't choose to do this.
Yeah. God chose you.
I didn't choose.
Yeah.
I tell people I didn't choose to do it because up to me, I probably been dead. You know, I still been in the game. But
Well, he didn't allow the enemy to take you out.
sure. And so that the enemy, I've been shot now, but the point is the Lord saved me and he kept me around for times like now. And you look at these young men, and I always say to the OGs in the hood. You know, I said the OGs in the hood. You're OG in your hood.
Yeah.
You've been say, hey, you done changed your life around. So you in this hood here. Why don't you pull some of the young boys in your hood,
Right.
and give them the method of life? You understand me? Because if you in your hood, you can reach out in your hood.
Yeah.
Because you see, you know they kids' daddy, you know their mama, you may be in the day-to-day sister.
Yeah.
And at the end of
Grandmother.
the day, that's right. So the OGs in the neighborhood, you reach and pull these young brothers. And let me tell you something, conversation rule the nation.
Yeah.
Huh? Conversation rule the nation. All you gotta do is just know how to talk to them. Yeah, I know how to talk to them. You know that I still have a street swag.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't lose that street swag because I got to be able to reach you.
You know, I used to want to drive school bus, and I used to tell everybody, I don't want the pretty kids.
Yeah.
I want the bad kids.
Sure.
You know, I want to drive the school bus for the bad kids because I always felt that I had that gift of gab.
Sure.
You understand
To
me?
reach
To
'em.
talk to these
Yeah.
youngsters.
Reach 'em.
You know, in the area that I hang around in a lot of time, I see these young boys, you know, playing basketball or something like this here. I stop. Hey, fellas, what's going on?
Yes.
You know, y'all better not hit my car with that ball. You know, I know, old school. Oh, no, we're not going to do that, you know. But I just be joking with them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I pick up a conversation. If I'm in the store, they walk in the store from playing basketball around the house and stuff like this here. I got that soda. You know, and they appreciate me, you know. And the girl that's working in the store, she say, y'all tell Uncle Wallace thanks. Y'all tell Uncle Wallace thanks. And we get along good, you know. But that's the way you have to do it. You can't just be mean to these kids out here, you know, or these youngsters.
Sure.
You know, I get a lot of respect, and I love it, bro. When I'm around in the hood, how these guys half my age want to come stand up by me because I'm not with a walker or a can and my age, you know. So they trying to find out how did I get to be that way.
Yeah, sure.
I said, well, y'all not gonna do what I did. I did a lot of praying, Pastor.
Yeah, right,
you
right,
know?
yeah.
So, and everything is good.
Tell us about the Second Chance program.
Yeah, the Second Chance Job Fair is going to be July 16th. But we have a career readiness expungement workshop.
Okay.
And so
What is that?
career?
Yeah.
The career readiness expungement workshop. Career readiness is to get you ready, get you prepared for the job fair. And so what we do is that we go in and I speak.
Okay.
I talk about life values. I talk about dress codes. I talk about how you talk to people, interviews. We talk about your mores, what your expectations. You know, a lot of people don't have resumes. Huh? And resumes are done by Louisiana Workforce Commission and Goodwill for free.
Okay.
Huh? A lot of people don't know that.
Can you say that again?
Yes, I can.
Tell them again.
Tell them again.
Tell them
And
again.
so that if you have if you have worked on some jobs and you don't know how to put a resume together, or if you've been to prison and just got out of prison, you worked it in prison.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah,
Yes.
you
Huh?
gotta work.
You gotta work.
If you want the Barrett, if you know what the Barrett Porter, you understand?
Yeah.
But you work.
You worked in prison, right?
Yeah.
So,
Cafeteria?
yes, right. So you use that as the resume.
Okay.
I've been incarcerated for so many years, and this is what I did. You know, certain jobs, right? And so you write it all down. Goodwill and Louisiana Workforce Commission would do that resume for free.
Okay.
All they need is your information. And so that we prepare them for that. We tell them how to dress. You find people today, they go on job, they come out the job interview in the job fair, and they look like they just got up out the bed. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
If you can remember, we didn't do this.
No,
it's
we
called
better not.
It's first impression.
It's the best
How
impression.
you expect for a person to hire you when you got flip-flops on, you got pajamas on, all they can do is take your resume and your application
513.
and put it on the side.
And they might not take it at all. Some places will might not take it at all.
Sure. And so that I want to say this, that I know that some of them do the natural hair. Huh?
But condition it.
Talks on.
At least pat it down.
Condition it. You know, a lot of people do the natural hair,
Yes,
but
yes.
don't condition
They
it.
don't condition it. They just get up out the bed.
All right, make it make sense.
Y'all can
Well, they
y'all
just
can
say
remember
they
we just-
keeping it real, Red.
Yeah.
They just say they keeping it real, Red.
Yeah, I understand. They may just saying they're keeping it real, but hey, you got to keep it real better than that.
You ain't gonna get it if you don't keep
No,
it.
no. But I understand you're keeping it real. But at the end of the day, though, that you got to be real about what you do.
And then they wonder why they didn't get hired.
Why didn't you get hired? And so that.
Let's talk about the expungement.
Okay, the expungement is that the Bar Association is going to be there. And so as you look at it, it's going to be Wednesday, June the 25th from 3:30 to 5:30 at Bridge Ministry of Acadiana, 512 North University. And the expungement is they're going to talk about what it's going to take to get your record expunged.
And a lot of black people don't understand that.
Say it one more time.
A lot of black men and women don't understand
what expungement
that they
means.
could get their record expunged.
Yeah, after so many years, so many years, they walk you through it. And can I tell you something? They do it for free.
All right.
Free.
What's that
Yeah.
word? Free?
Free stuff.
All right.
This is what we need.
Yeah. Because I got a lot of young men, and when I talk about telling them, you know, I know white collar paws, they get in trouble and they get this stuff expunged.
Yeah.
And they get a job. And sometimes the black man go for the job and he say, "Oh, I can't get a job."
Yeah.
But he looked at the stuff is still on your record.
Yeah, but you see, this is something productive.
Yeah.
Now, if they was giving free food away,
They in line.
the line you couldn't find the end of the line.
Well-
but see, this is something productive that a person can get to and make it happen. You know, for 'em.
Now, let me say this. I've tried to help people get expungements. Okay, I've tried, you know, had a program on my computer. You know, I've tried typing it up, and there were certain things that, of course, I'm not an attorney,
Sure.
but I did try to help people get expungements.
Sure.
And
Did it go through?
we always hit the same snag. Because I wasn't an
Attorney.
attorney.
That's right.
Because I wasn't an attorney.
That's
I
right.
didn't have that relationship that the attorneys have in the courts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right?
That's correct. That's right.
And they say that you can probably do an expungement yourself
Uh-uh.
if you have the right
Nope.
paperwork or whatever. But guess what? Yeah, that there is.
Yeah, there is a way to do it correctly yourself.
But
Go ahead.
but here's the thing: when you get expungement, you need ladders. You got to show good standards in the community. Fines have to be paid off. Off parole for so many years. Hadn't gotten in no more trouble. That's what a expungement is. You need people to write letters because the expungement has to go to the parole board. It goes to where I came from. It goes back to the parole board.
Okay.
And the parole board has to approve it to get your record expungement.
But that's for people who've been to prison.
Right.
Correct? Yeah.
That is correct. But then if you got somebody that's in the system that has some other fines and things like that and want to get your record expungement, so you still want some letters. You want somebody to say something good about you, right? Yeah, you may be going in there, but I still show people what you've been doing. What have I done over the years to be back into the community?
Productive.
Yes, right. Move to the next level,
be
you know, and show people that, hey, this is who I'm not that person who you say I am.
Yeah, I'm productive. I'm a productive citizen,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, I just don't want nobody just to write a letter for me.
No.
You understand? You know, I don't.
Because they can tell the difference.
That's right. I want to see the work I've done. Huh? And so that these are the things that you have to, and here's another thing. The person that wants a record expungement, he got to get the stuff to the people to get that expungement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So if I'm the one that's doing it for you, I need you to get these files. I need you to get this type of paperwork, right?
And that's another thing I read. Well, I don't have the money to get to get the copies that I need. I don't have this. I don't. I can't find a time
Yeah.
So I can't help you.
Do you want it?
Then I can't help
Do you want it?
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you go and try to get court documents, you will always have to pay.
Yes, you gotta pay.
There's no place in the United States of America where you could get court documents for free.
Free.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you this question. So the expungements that they're going to be working on or helping you work on, but it has to be here, correct? Can't be like California or New Orleans.
I think it has to be here.
So they have to be local.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But most likely they come there. They probably can. And if they live in here,
They got problems here.
If they
Not
live,
necessarily. Not necessarily.
no,
If they
if
live
they
in here,
live,
they can help 'em, you know.
yeah, if they living here in the United, in the
in
state of
Acadiana.
state of Louisiana,
Louisiana.
state of Louisiana,
Yeah.
because you got prison all over Louisiana.
Sure, sure.
So if you was in any one of those prisons, long as it's in the state of Louisiana, the state of Louisiana could help you.
But then here's another thing that it may can be different. That if you live in Louisiana now and you try to get an expungement, you got a lawyer. The only thing lawyer you got to do is retrieve the paperwork from California,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
And get it
submit
and file it.
and file it.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Yeah,
So
file
that there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah,
you know,
all
so
you got to
that-
do is file it.
Right,
But-
right.
But the thing
But
of it
understand something, that a lawyer can't get nothing expunged for nothing.
But the thing of it is, the lawyer have to be qualified
To work
in
in
Cali-
California,
in
yeah.
California.
Yeah, and have that jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
But-
how much success has, well, not success, how many people actually show up
For this program.
for the readiness and expungement workshop that follow through with everything that
Well, they just had one. The Lafayette Sheriff's Department put one on,
Okay.
what? Okay.
and so that I didn't get the full details of it.
Okay.
Because that it wasn't out in the public like we out.
Okay.
And so I tried, because I had people calling me about it, and I said, "Hey, I heard it on the
When in
conference
our
call."
circles.
Yeah, when in our circles, right? And so they
You
had.
might have heard it after the fact,
Well,
not
I
during
called
before the fact.
Goodwill. I called Goodwill and said, "Hey, is there a expungement class going on today?" And she said, "Yes." Lafayette Sheriff's Department, Lafayette Sheriff's Department has rented the room.
Okay.
And so I tried to make contact with the people, no response. But I don't know the numbers, but they said they had about at least 25 or 30 people that showed up.
Okay.
To get the expungement. So it's getting started. But where it going, you got to know where it's end at.
That's right.
You know that what was it? How many people that's
It wasn't advertised.
Yes, how it wasn't advertised. How many people got their record expunged or followed through? You with me?
Yes.
And so that like for us when we do the job fair, we know the stats.
Okay.
We know the numbers.
Okay.
We know how many people the company hired, and we know how many people the company is going to hire.
Okay.
And so that they tell us these numbers. And so that a lot of companies.
So
that-
basically, what you do is y'all got a way to follow up.
Sure, we do. And so that I can't answer the question, Brother Brown, because that I don't know. This expungement here, this has been the second time that we've had an expungement that
Program.
partnered with us on the Second Chance Job Fair
Okay.
as far as bringing them in, right? And so we thought that it would be great to bring in the Bar Association.
And anytime you're dealing, the offshore is about to pick back up. When you look at things right now, offshore is about to pick back up, and a lot of them jobs you're gonna need your record expunged to get them jobs if you got, because you got to do a background check.
Yeah, and here's the thing on offshore. I filed just for what you got to have to go offshore.
You got to have that twit card.
Twit card.
That's
so,
right.
So that a lot of people is you have a felony. And so I did it just to do it. Okay, so you have a felony, and you apply for a twit card. You may get denied for a twit card, right? But you go back and you'll go back and redo it. I think they ask you for some more information, and then eventually they'll give you the twit card.
Well, that twit card, I had one because I was going in and out of off-field places.
Facilities?
Yeah, and you could have a felony, and it depends what kind of felony you have. One thing you can't have, going to a mental institution. You cannot have nothing mentally on your jacket,
To get a twit card.
to get a twit card.
Okay.
You know, but everything else, you can't have a murder on your record, but just stealing or
Little simple stuff you can get a twig.
little simple
Drugs, selling,
Yeah.
distribution of drugs. You
Yeah,
can get a twig
you
card.
could get a twig card.
Okay.
And so they just have to just go back. I think they go back in and they ask them why you need one and things like that. So that they do get twig cards. And another thing I kind of want to cover, I just kind of did research on that. I went and asked. I went to the voting place. And I know Consuela Gain, this is her thing, her thing she do. And so Mr. Brown asked me, what about voting?
Yeah.
Young men that's been incarcerated and they out. So I went personally to the voting place.
Thank you.
And I asked the question, if I just got out of prison, can I vote? The question was, if you're on parole, you cannot
probation.
on probation, you can't vote until you get off parole and
Probation, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask that question because a lot of these young men, they don't know. Someone's walking around here on probation and don't know.
Yeah.
You understand me? And so here's another number 3 is your parole officer. Once you come off of parole and probation, your parole officer should submit you a registration card.
That's right.
a
No, they're supposed to give you a card, a file to file for you to vote.
That's right.
But that's not being done.
That's right.
That's not being done.
I took a fellow
Sure right.
Okay.
to register to vote. And he said, man, I can't vote. I said, what you doing right now? He said, nothing. I took him to the parole officer
Yeah.
to get him a voter's
Registration card. Application.
No, to
application.
get an application saying that he's no longer on parole or probation. I wish I had a camera or I was filming that when he got his certificate of no longer being on parole. And when I brought him to the voter's registration office, man, I wish I had the film how that boy was happy.
But right then and there, the probation officer could have given him a application
they did.
to register to vote.
No, they just he just wanted his certificate
But he
saying
could-
that
he
he was no longer on parole.
Understand what I'm
probation.
saying? But then he
Yeah,
still
he
could have
coulda,
given him the
registered
strict
vote.
voters card. Yeah.
I had that, but he wanted to go to the voter's registration office.
Okay. All
You
right.
understand me?
so-
I took him.
So Pastor just handed me a letter. Says this letter certifies that X is no longer under an order of imprisonment or conviction
Yep.
of a felony. So this is the I guess
That tells how they can vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Please
could
right
take
there.
that to the voter's registration office. Automatically, they register you to vote.
She just gave me a copy, and it says that under any order of imprisonment for the conviction of a felony, but has not been incarcerated within the last 5 years, pursuant to their order, and is not under the order of imprisonment related to a felony conviction for election fraud or any other election offense pursuit.
Yeah.
Pursuant.
And
So
that's all you need.
that's all you need.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of people don't
Misinformation.
know that.
Well, they've been misled.
Misinformation.
They've been misled so long, man.
Because while you're in prison, they tell you, when you're getting ready to get out of prison, you have no rights to vote.
Yeah.
They tell you that. And some people believe that until they're able to go and get this piece of paper here. And once they get that piece of paper and go and vote, they have
Well,
You know,
how long does it take once they go to the probation officer, get what they need, and then present that? How long does it take usually to get a letter that they can present to the clerk of court's office?
right
right
then and
then
Right then and there.
Right then and there.
Right then
So
and
is
there.
that
Right
easy?
then and
vote-
there.
that
you can
easy?
vote, and you can
Yeah.
vote on the next election.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can vote on the next
And
election.
I want to bring that. So there's your answer. How long it takes?
Take
It's right then and there.
Right then and there. When
So-
you walk through the door
Yeah.
and you tell them what you want,
Mike,
they tell you to sit down and wait in the waiting room. They come back with this
Mike,
piece of
you
paper
know
here.
what you know what really upsets me? We got people that works with probation and parole that just don't take the time to do this, or to even give them the voter's registration document and say fill it out, and I'm gonna turn it in, and you're gonna be able to vote for the next election.
You could do it right on your phone.
Yeah.
I know, but people don't. But people at the probation and parole don't let them know that, Wallace.
Well, let me say
and
this.
that's wrong.
You just brought
Ray,
this up.
that's a violation.
What's that?
You know that's a violation
It
of the
is.
voters right there.
Yeah,
They
well,
already, Louisiana been sanctioned about that before.
Yeah, it's
Right,
important.
just the pump.
Well, I didn't know, and I'm glad that any day you can learn something new is a good day. So
Day.
today is a good day.
Yeah.
It is.
And I'm glad that our listeners are getting the same information that I'm getting today, because I'm hopefully this will ignite a fire under some people, and they can go and handle their business so they can vote in the next election. For some people, just having the knowledge that they can vote now will change the
Yeah,
way
and you
that
know what, Mike?
they move.
You know what, Mike? You was in law enforcement for 33 years, and today you just finding that out.
Just fine, because I was never on that side. of it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
but then you know what, y'all? Let me tell you something. I say it all the time, as people, got to begin to pick the books up and begin to read it for ourselves. Because
Where do you
That's
see
not
this
in the
at? Where
books.
do you
That's
see
not
this
in
at
the books,
book?
Oscar.
listen,
Those things are
listen.
not in the books, Oscar.
Our phone, if you pull up on the phones, that phone is a tool that you can educate on what you need to do. If you're a convicted felon, what you need to do
Well, let me
to
say-
be registered to vote.
let me-
We don't take time to
Let me back
research
up.
it,
But let me back up, though. Let me back up.
because there is information in that phone.
Well, let me
Wallace.
back up. So once again, if your probation or your parole officer has the information,
He's supposed to
and
give it to
this
you.
is what they're supposed to give to you.
That's
and
right.
They are not doing it. Then how are you supposed to know that this is even capable? This is even how the system is supposed to work. If you don't know, because no one tells you, how do you know that this is even available?
Well, it is available.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
now we know it's available.
Yeah,
And it been
but
available.
the thing of it is, the guy that I took, and how happy was, he was off parole for 5 years,
And he never voted
and he didn't
knew.
know he wanted to vote,
But-
but didn't know that he can
because
vote.
he believed that he couldn't vote.
Because
he
they
was
told
led-
him,
he
the
was-
system
told
told him
him.
he couldn't vote.
And you know, y'all, and that's the thing. The system fails us so many times.
Yeah, and here's another thing is that when the information come out, a lot of these guys don't attend information in the community.
No.
In the community, doesn't attend things that's valuable.
Positive.
Right,
Positive.
In the community. It's sad that we have to put on a rap concert or a Zydeco concert to send a message out to our people, because the trail ride, Zydeco, they going to be there.
Pastor Bank, it's sad that we as people got to give a pork chop sandwich or a chicken sandwich for somebody to go vote.
But-
Or
it is.
or a keg of beer.
Yeah.
You know, where people died to give you that right to vote.
Sure. Yeah, you have a right. And I got my rights back in 1998. I knock up 1998. You're not going to tell me I can't vote.
That's right.
You understand me? I fought. You understand me? I made a mistake.
But I'm not going to be held to that standard
I'm
anymore.
not going to be held to that standard because I have my rights back.
That's right.
You understand me? How can you go out here and say something when you don't have no rights?
Yeah.
You understand me? That's just me. That how can you go out here when voting? If you didn't vote, well, how can you say something?
No, you can't. You
But
can't.
those the people that don't vote, if things get to going
Well-
good, they the first one in line.
Let me tell y'all something. Look at what we're dealing with right now when it pertains to the United States of America. Look at the chaos and confusions that we're dealing with right now, Pastor Banks.
Sure.
We got a man in office that is incapable, and he don't care about people's lives. All he cares about is money and power.
He's trying to take away our education system, period.
Well, why? Because he wants us to be illiterate.
And let me say this here. I'll say it. I don't talk politics with people because people get in their feelings.
Feelings, yeah.
You lose friendship.
Yeah.
But me is me.
Uh-huh.
And I learned I don't allow politics to come to my church for one thing. Because they you go come there and you gone. My church ain't gonna benefit from you.
No.
Huh?
That's right.
You run in my district. You're not going. My church is not going to benefit from the politics. At the end of the day, you come to my church. You want to sit there. You want to get up and say something, but the church does not benefit. Certain churches benefit
From politics. That's
Am I
right.
or wrong?
That's right.
Yep.
And so I understand, but I look at the way the world is, and I learned this here. And I was in a meeting, with some people, and there was a few blacks and majority white, and I stood up, and this is what I said: how we as people going to allow one man to separate us.
Amen.
Yep.
That's the way I think.
Yep.
Amen.
We have to work together.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have to go to school together, our kids.
Yeah.
We have to
pray
shop
together.
together, right? We go to church together, right?
Amen.
How we allow one person
To destroy.
to destroy us
Amen.
when we got the power over one person. Whatever decision he make, that's his decision, right?
That's
But there's a God above.
Amen.
Yep. And that's why we
like this.
go to sanctuary to pray. You know, to pray to God,
Oh, yeah.
not to the devil.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He can't.
Well,
I
I
told him
want
all.
to share
Can't
something with
serve two
y'all
masters.
this morning.
He can't do
I want
nothing.
to share y'all.
Amen.
this
That's what I
this
said to
morning.
me. That's what I said.
Go ahead, brother. Say it again.
Yeah, well, I want to share this thought with y'all. Organized people come anytime organized money. Organized people come organized money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the Reverend Yearwood.
I believe
It's
that.
not, I can't take credit for that thought.
Yeah. So but at the end of the day, though, we have
You
to.
know-
We as a community have to be together.
You know, Pastor Bank. I don't want to change the subject
Sure.
from your what's going on here with your career and things like this here. But for a long time, I've been saying that mechanics, carpenters, electricians, they should start teaching these things in
Elementary school.
in elementary school.
And-
So when they get to high school, they'll be more advanced into the program instead of just sit at a desk all day long with a book and some pencil and writing not resume, but writing different things down. I think that would be more of an education than taking a person through school for 12 years with a book in his hand.
Well, you got to go look at this. The lot of things has changed from as voting. I'm gonna use voting. We have voted things out of schools and caused children to miss. When I was going to school, we had electrician, we had vocational.
Yeah.
Am I right? We had,
It's called industrial arts.
Yes,
We had industrial arts.
When I was in Arkansas, it's called VOTEC. We had all this, right? But now that they take the money and put the money somewhere else, and they taking it from the education, and you wonder why kids you can't keep a kid in school no more.
Well, because the world we live in now, we rather get the games that's so expensive instead of try to say, well, we're going to put that money in our school and teach industrial arts, teach how to create some job, career events at an early age. Man, that's why we losing our young kids so much, Pastor Banks, because we giving them the foolishness and really not the knowledge.
Well, if you look at the way the state legislature and
Who allowed
the
that?
federal government, how they're balancing the budgets,
Who allowed
the
that?
first thing that they're cutting is education,
Education.
and they're cutting health care,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
To balance a budget.
But is it right? Is it right?
Well, no, but that's what I'm getting at. Those are the first things that they cut is education and Medicare, insurance, to balance a budget. Even in Louisiana, same thing. Now they want to give the teachers back, money, and they tried to pass some okie dokie legislation a couple of months ago, which failed. Now they're rewording it to send it back through. But getting back to what we're talking about today is second chances. We want to make sure that the listening audience understands there are
A way to get us-
programs in place to help them to expunge their records, to bring them to the level of where they can apply for jobs with resumes and training of, like you said, what to wear, what not to wear, how to act, what to expect, and things like that. So now that we've brought that to them, you and I had a discussion last week, and I don't know if you're able, if you're ready to do that, but you named several companies that you can call that has hired people knowing that they have a felony arrest or that they are felons, who are working to get their lives back on track. So, at this point, would you like to tell our listening audience who you go to or who has helped you, who you know that they may mean what they say about giving jobs to people so they can have a second chance so they can take care of their families?
You say that there's many jobs out here, employers that hires second chance. Bailey,
okay, offshore.
Offshore,
yeah.
Okay.
They are one of them. I think it was Grant, offshore company. You find a lot of offshore companies that hires convicted felons. I can pull up in a few minutes, but it's amazing the people that hires. We had one company said that we are willing to give these men and women second chances. There was an electric company. I found it, pull it up in a minute. There was an electric company hired over 15 people, starting them off at $20 an hour.
That's a good salary.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I tell these people that go in and learn something. And number one, don't take from these people.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't
Leave
take
this
from
stuff
these people.
alone.
That's right.
Leave this stuff alone.
Don't go in here thinking that you're going to make $100,000, $50,000 in a year. Number one, he gave you a second chance. Number two, you got some benefits.
You got to sacrifice and grow.
That's right. Number three, there'll be a 401k.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
And so there's some companies that we have that's partnered with that give these young men and women second chance. And so that I'm going to pull it up here in a few minutes, but I just want to say that there's opportunities out here to get them back into society. They can raise their family. They can pay their child support. They can pay their parole fees, and just have a life that you ain't got to look over your shoulder.
Pastor Banks,
Yes, sir.
when you say expungement, okay, and that y'all expunge it for free, but that individual has to be there and give the lawyers the information and continue to work diligently with the lawyers to get the record expunged.
Correct.
Am I correct?
That is correct.
right.
And so what they're going to do, they're going to go over everything that they need. And so they're going to kind of give them an overview, what they need to get the process going.
Yeah. And you might have to meet with them a second time.
That's correct.
And give them more information to keep them. But I say that because a lot of people tends to let the ball fall. They'll say, "Oh, I went to see him, and they didn't do nothing." Sometimes it takes time.
It does take time.
Yeah.
And so that we have to realize and understand that they have to do the work. We can't do it for them.
No.
If you
We
want
need
something
you.
in life, you have to go the extra mile
Sacrifice.
to get it done. That's correct.
Yeah, well,
Sacrifice.
everybody can't go offshore and work.
No.
Because you take a person like me, I ain't going offshore and
Well,
work.
because you can't take the water.
That's right.
Can't
Right.
take the water.
So, and then you have a lot of jobs that people are hiring, but they can't afford to take care of their family if they have a family.
Wallace,
Because
Wallace, right now I'm hearing.
No, I understand. No, I understand what he's saying.
Right now, I'm hearing on the job market. Right now, I'm hearing that they're gonna be getting robots to take the place of human beings.
yeah, but a robot can't do everything.
That's the thing.
And you're gonna need person to fix that robot when he breaks.
Yeah, but
You know
that's
what
the
I
thing.
mean?
But that's the thing, Wallace.
Start
we
training
we
people
gotta
for these
start.
things.
We gotta start sacrificing. Our young people gotta understand that nothing happens just like that. It takes time sometimes.
Yeah, but
never give up a fight.
Yeah,
never
but
give up.
a young person that don't have responsibility, they could take a $8 or $9 job an hour.
Ain't
You
no
know what I
doubt.
mean?
Ain't no doubt.
But a person that got responsibility, man, it's hard for them to go and accept $7.50 an hour, $8, $9 an hour, and they got a household expense that they have to obligation to.
Yeah.
Right. And I hear you out, but here's the thing. A lot of jobs, don't pay $9. Some of them pay $13, but it's a start.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. And and you're sitting here, I'm going to talk about last year now, when we had job fair last year. We had 15 employees that showed up.
Okay.
We had 12 resource people, like resources, you know, they're a resource in the community. We had 205 job seekers,
200 people looking for jobs.
right?
Okay.
Okay. Out of that, we had 30 job offers on spot,
Okay.
and we had 43 interviews follow up.
See?
That's last year's numbers. And so that, why the numbers are low, I think that's a good number to me, because that they hired 30 people on the spot.
On the spot.
That's 30 people with a job.
Job.
30 people with a job.
Yeah.
Now, if they still there, I can't answer that. But the point is, though, that we got employers that hiring them right
on
there
the spot.
on the spot. Because they're not coming just to coming.
Yeah.
You understand?
Because they need the workers.
That's right.
They need to fulfill the spots.
And here's another thing: you get a tax write-off. It's a tax credit for every convicted felon that you hire.
Okay.
For now.
For now.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah. So,
You know,
go ahead.
I remember talking to a young lady at one of the schools, you know, years ago, and I remembered her because she basically was the class clown, right?
Like me.
She was, and I went to a gas station years later, and she remembered me, right? And she said, "I remember you." She said, "You came into our classroom, and you tried to talk to us about our future." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know, because I had a little skit that I would put on, and I would,
Yeah.
you know, do things with them." And she said, "I was the one that was with the cell phone that said as long as I had my cell phone, I didn't need anybody else." And I said, "You know what? I remember you." And she said, and I said, "I remember you also. You would always try to sneak into the clubs." She said, "Yep." And she says, "I wish I could go back to that day that you had a discussion with us." And I'm like, "Okay, really?" She said, "Yeah." She says, "Because I'm 3 kids into this life, no education, and I'm barely making it. I wish I would have listened to you back then."
Yeah.
Right?
So because
Yeah.
she didn't listen, she didn't make the ends meet.
She didn't take the conversation seriously.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't take the conversation. Now she's living that life. You can't go back. So you have to move forward.
Correct.
You know, you have to live with the consequences that you have made, and you have to learn from those consequences and from those mistakes, and you have to move forward.
But sometimes it's hard, Mike, because
I know it's
because of that, sometimes they make that mistake, and they have to live life continually making mistakes and being in enduring pain all their life.
Well, you know, once you get into a situation, and you know your way of getting out of the situation is digging a deeper hole sometimes.
Yeah.
Because what you want to do is rob from Peter to pay Paul.
And that's
And that
incorrect.
doesn't mean that that's bills. That's just the choices that you make. You make the decisions from now and say, well, I'm going to suffer the consequences later. But guess what? When later comes, you go to another, you dig another hole.
Another consequence come up.
So at some point, you know,
Look.
you have to realize that you can't keep making the same decisions over and over.
Wow,
Pastor
man,
Ba-
you the second show over already?
Yeah,
It's winding down.
Pastor Banks,
Guys, to be more careful.
we got 4 minutes. And
Man,
you
where the
need, you
time
need to
went,
get
bro.
everything you need to say out. Forget Oscar and forget forget Mike right now.
Just forget Oscar.
Hey, I just want to say that once again, thank you for having me. Remember that would you pass the word that there's going to be a career readiness, a sponsorship workshop going to be held Wednesday, June the 25th, from 3:30 till 5:30 at Bridge Ministry. Be resume assistance, how to speak with employees, job fair preparation, expungement process overview, and support service and referrals. So that if you know anyone that's looking for a job, send them there to Bridge Ministry on June the 25th to talk about the career expungement, the career readiness and expungement. Also, the Second Chance Job Fair will be coming up Wednesday, July the 16th, 10 a.m. to noon at the Hyman Convention Center at 1373 South College Road. And this Second Chance Job Fair is for everybody, but you know we look for employers that hire convicted felonies. So every employer that's going to be there hires convicted felonies. So we want to encourage you to come out and get your job that God has for you. and also come prepared for the job. Come in with high expectations and say, I'm ready to get my life back on track. These people is looking for employers. Also, if you are an employer and you're listening and watching our view on today, call Lafayette Economic Development and sign up. We're looking for more employers that hires convicted felons for our community and for these men and women. Also, I want to thank Lafayette Economic Development, the parole board, the parole officers, Lafayette Sheriff Department, and Lafayette Economic Development for the great partnership that we have. We can't do this by ourselves, so we take a village to come together and build and try to make a difference in our community. I want the community to know we are here for this community. If I can be any help, as Pastor Charles Banks, you can reach out to me.
If you have any question, can they have do you have a number that somebody could call?
Sure. If you have any questions, anything, you can call me at 337-344-9345. Once again, my number is 337-344-9345 and give you more information. We'll be doing a live view of employers that have signed up. There's not many signed up right now. We are still working on getting more employers to sign up for the Second Chance Job Fair. So if you're watching today, tell a friend to tell a friend. Meet us on Wednesday, June the 25th at Bridge Ministry, July the 16th at the Second Chance Job Fair.
And that's 3:30 to 5:30?
3:30 to 5:30 at Bridge Ministry on June 25th.
That's on University.
That is correct. Come, if you don't have a resume, bring your information.
And somebody going to write it for you.
And somebody will they'll do it for you. Get your resume ready for you and get you prepped and ready to go for your job on July the 16th, 2025.
So you can't say I can't get a job because I'm a convicted felon.
Pastor Banks?
Yes.
I appreciate you.
Sure.
I appreciate Mike for having you.
Thank you for having me.
Come on. And I appreciate Oscar for all the concern that he has and know about to make things happen for the people in our community. And it's not just in Lafayette community.
All
this
over.
Community
It's
all over.
All over the United States.
They could do this.
And I just want to say this. Thank you all for having a heart for the people to do what you do.
Thank you.
You know, this ain't easy.
No, it's not.
And when you're in this type of field, you have to have a heart.
That's right.
It ain't somebody just do it. And I know you have the heart. I can feel y'all when I came in today.
Amen.
That I love a community. I love people. And Brother Brown, being a police officer, he had to love people.
Amen.
You know, I've learned this, and I'm gonna say this right quick. You know, every time you arrest somebody, don't mean you take everybody to jail.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Am I right or wrong? Police told me this. He said, if I take you to jail, I ain't helping you.
All right. Yeah. Before we get out of here.